Hey, welcome back to the channel. I am really glad you're here because today I want to share with you the cold hard truth about owning a compact or subcompact tractor. Now, I'm not here to talk you out of buying one. I'm not here to talk you into buying one. I just want to share an experience that I had yesterday that really kind of dawned on me that I don't think I've ever shared this with anybody before about owning a tractor. Now, of course, if you own even a small piece of property, an acre or more, you'll find a use for a tractor. It's an extremely handy piece of equipment. You have one piece of equipment with all these attachments. If you have the front end loader, you can change out the bucket for a stump bucket or a grapple or pallet forks. The 3-point hitch, you've got other attachments. I've got the bush hog rotary mower, I've got the finish mower, the rototiller, box blade, the wood chipper. All these things make this such a universal piece of equipment to have on your property, and it is really handy. But here's the thing that dawned on me yesterday. It didn't dawn on me, but that I realized and thought I need to share this and be honest. And the truth is, if you are not at least moderately mechanically inclined, you probably shouldn't buy a tractor. I know you watch videos on my channel, on so many other channels, and we're out there doing things with these tractors, and you probably think, oh my gosh, that's the handiest thing ever. And it is. But again, if you're not mechanically inclined, you may not like having a tractor. I happen to be pretty mechanically inclined. You've seen that on the channel. I do a lot of projects myself. I have a good amount of mechanical aptitude. But yesterday, I decided to go out into the woods and cut some trails. Before I could do that, I had to switch out the bucket for the grapple. I had to put the bush hog rotary mower on the back. So I went to do that. Changing out the bucket is easy. If you have the skid steer quick attach, you just raise the 2 levers, unhook the bucket, drive in, hook up the grapple, lock it down. You got to connect some hydraulic lines. Thank you. You have to connect some hydraulic lines, and even that can be a little tricky. You know, you start to run into some problems if you have pressure in the lines and you have to release the pressure. You've got to, a tractor is the one thing where sometimes you have to force it. You know, a lot of times you learn, don't force it, you'll break something. You have to force it, and that was the easy part. Then I went to hook up my bush hog rotary mower, and I don't have that hooked up with a quick attach. So that one you have to hook up the 3-point individually. You can get adapters for the quick attach, but I don't have that, the quick hitch. So I had to fight with it. And I bet you it took me 30 minutes of struggling to get that bush hog on, because you have to connect the 2 lower lift arms. And if you did not park on level ground, those lift arms don't move independently very easily. So you've got to fight with that. You have very little tolerance when it comes to lining things up. So you're struggling with that. The piece of equipment is heavy. You can't just move it. You're on the tractor, moving it a ½ inch. Try it, jump off, try it again. You got to get back on the tractor, move it another ½ inch back, mess with it, try and get it on. I was beat by the time I got that thing on there. I was really knocked out. Now you might say, well, Ed, you're dumb because I can do that in a couple minutes. Sometimes you get lucky and everything lines up and you hook it right up. And that happens to me very frequently. A lot of times I can back up, it lines up just the way I took it off, and I'm off and running. But other times you have to struggle with it. And that's my point for you, that you have to be mechanically inclined. You have to have a good amount of strength. If you're not a relatively strong person of average stature like myself, you'll struggle with it. You've got to be willing to beat on that thing. You've got to kick it sometimes to get things to line up. You got to try to lift things, pull things. The point is, it's a lot of work. So I hooked up my bush hog. I finally got it hooked up yesterday, went out into the woods and was really enjoying myself. And then I noticed that one side of the bush hog was dropped down and it was digging into the ground. And I shut off the tractor, I got off, and I'm staring at it, and I couldn't figure out why, because everything was hooked up. I saw the 3-point hitch was hooked up, the top link, the PTO, everything was hooked up, but yet one side was down drastically. Scratched my head for a long time, and then I realized the front link of the lift arm, the one under the tractor, the linchpin had come out and that link came off. So therefore it dropped down on that one side. I was out in the woods, pretty far from the barn or anything. So I really just had to work with what I had, which wasn't much. So I used the tractor to lift the bush hog up. I pulled forward and back and finally was able to, actually took one of the other parts of the link arm apart, got it to get back into place. But again, I fought with it for probably a good 15 minutes and finally got it back in place. And let me tell you, again, I was beat because it was very, very physical. So not only was it mechanical where I had to evaluate and figure out what had happened, but it was very physical. So I'm not complaining. I just want you to know that having a tractor is not easy. They are not easy pieces of equipment to have if you're changing out attachments. They're pretty easy to use. Once you have it all hooked up, they're great. But there's a lot of in between when you're switching out attachments, when you're having things that break on you or fall apart, it can be quite a bit of work. Just simply hooking up the PTO on a mower deck or the wood chipper or the rototiller can be really frustrating because it's hard to get those units to turn, to line up the spline. Some of the PTOs have different type of connectors where I have one where you push the side button in and you slide the drive shaft on and it locks on. I have another one where you have to squeeze. It's counterintuitive for my mower deck or my finished mower. You have to pull back on the universal joint connector while you're pushing forward, and it's just really counterintuitive and very frustrating. So you have to get it lined up, get it in place, lock it in place, make sure it's in place because it can fall off on you. There are just several things that can kind of go wrong. So again, I'm not going to discourage you from buying a tractor. I think anybody who has a piece of property will really benefit from having one. But I want you to know the truth. I want you to know the cold, hard truth that these machines are a workout. You know, it can be a lot of work. They're dirty. You're going to get dirty because there's a lot of grease fittings you want to keep greased, and you're going to get dirty just getting your tractor ready for the next chore. So get ready to get dirty. You're going to get pinched fingers. You're going to get scratches. You're going to get, you know, small injuries using these machines just because even if you have safety gear on, something's going to get pinched or cut or scratched. It's just the nature of owning a piece of equipment. They can be dangerous and you have to be really careful with that. So that's my little talk to you today. Again, not discouraging you. In fact, I would really encourage you if you are mechanically inclined and you have some property. But I want you to know if you're not mechanically inclined, if you don't have strength as a person, you are going to struggle with that. And that came to me because after fighting with that, I went in to Ann, who is a small person, and I said, Ann, if something happens to me, you're not going to be able to use this tractor. You're just not. I mean, it's not that she's not capable, but she doesn't have the physical strength. She doesn't really have mechanical aptitude. You know, she has other gifts, but she's one of those people that's not really mechanically inclined, and I think that's something that comes to you naturally. So that's what made me think, I need to share this. I need to tell people, be really sure what you're getting yourself into, because I don't want to see you spend $20,000, $25,000, $30,000 on a tractor and all these attachments thinking it's a breeze and easy to do, where it's really not. But if you can do it, it's rewarding. So there's my talk. Thanks for listening to me ramble on today. I do appreciate it. If you're new to the channel, I'd like to welcome you. If you have not yet subscribed to the channel, I invite you to join us. If you like the video, please give it a thumbs up. And as always, I look forward to seeing you next time.